Does any of it have a purpose anymore?
Karasu asked, sitting beside his friend on the walls of the castle. Flames engulfed its courtyard, and boulders crashed into its walls. Dirt was kicked up into the air, and smoke covered the sky, shutting out the stars, but not the light from the moon. Karasu's legs dangled over the edge, just one push, and he'd be gone, splat on the ground with the rest of the dead. The castle was large, and it would be a while before they were with him and his friend.
Hard to say, I guess.
Uriel replied as he looked down below.
Does anything ever really have a point?
Karasu looked at his friend, dressed in white. His radiant blue eyes danced with the light of the flames.
If you're going to look for a problem in any situation, you are going to find it.
Uriel added, even forcing a faint smile.
But when there's so much bad, how do you ignore it?
Karasu asked.
Therein lies the problem. Your first reaction was to run from the situation.
Uriel replied. His body stayed still, but his eyes glanced at Karasu.
When we ignore our problems, they grow until they're out of our control. The only option is to be brave from the start and take hold.
Take hold of what?
Karasu asked, his face twisting and contorting with his confusion.
Of the problem, of course.
Uriel chuckled.
How can you laugh in this situation?
Karasu asked, becoming defensive.
I laughed only because this is the situation. A conversation between two friends, just like when they were children.
Uriel replied, his smile genuine.
This is no time for folly! Uriel, this is serious!
Karasu retorted.
I have no argument with you there, my friend. But even in darkness, there must be a light.
Uriel replied, continuing to smile. Karasu growled before shouting,
Would you speak some sense for once instead of this drivel?
Uriel's smile slowly faded as he looked at his friend.
Tell me, Karasu, do you believe this to be the end?
He asked, his voice calm and collected, soft yet firm.
Yes.
Karasu almost sputtered.
I promise you it's not, my friend.
Uriel smiled.
How can you be so sure? We're the only ones left.
Karasu replied, unconvinced.
Karasu, you're named after a bird, correct?
Uriel inquired.
What does that have to do with anything now?
Karasu asked, believing his friend had finally gone mad.
Just curiosity is all. I guess that's why I was born, the year of the cat.
Uriel replied fondly.
Have you lost sense?
Karasu asked, his eyes wide, his hair standing on end.
Not at all. I just don't believe in a no-win scenario.
Uriel smiled, standing up on the ledge and sliding his hands into his coat pockets.
Not going to jump, are you?
Karasu asked, reaching out his hand to Uriel. Uriel smiled and looked at his friend.
Of course not. Who would do such a silly thing as that?
He gently extended his hand while still standing in place and gingerly took hold of Karasu's hand.
I just thought I'd take a moment to stand.
You still didn't answer my question.
Karasu remarked, ignoring his friend's hand.
And what was that?
Uriel asked with a smile.
Is there a point anymore?
Karasu asked.
Would it matter if there was?
Uriel asked, raising one leg so that he balanced on only one.
Stop screwing around or you'll fall!
Karasu shouted.
I'm perfectly fine. In regards to your question, if nothing mattered, would you sprout wings and go?
Uriel asked, letting go of Karasu's hand and standing back on 2 feet again.
Don't be absurd. I just want to know if it's worth continuing to fight on.
Karasu retorted.
That is the question, isn't it?
Uriel sighed as he sat back down, 1 foot up on the ledge and the other hanging over it.
You don't have an answer then.
Karasu frowned.
Man cannot know everything. If we did, that would make us unruly gods.
Uriel whispered as he looked to the sky.
I wish I had wings, so that I could fly.
Well, when we die, maybe God will give you some.
Karasu muttered from behind his teeth.
Maybe.
Uriel whispered, his eyes transfixed on the moon.
Do you think anyone lives on the moon, Karasu?
No, Everybody knows everything circles the Earth. It is the center of everything, probably life itself even.
Karasu replied dismissively.
That seems so naive to me. But I guess if everyone else believes it, then it must be true.
Uriel half smiled as if he were trying to assure himself that his friend spoke truth.
I'm sorry about your father. You haven't even been ruler a day, and it would seem we are fated to die here in this place.
Uriel added.
There goes that chipper attitude of yours.
Karasu sighed.
I don't say it out of darkness, but out of empathy.
Uriel replied. There was a gentle breeze in the air, but having been heated by the flames, it did little to cool Karasu's body. Instead, it only served to remind him of their impending doom.
I wish I could have been a proper knight.
Uriel breathed with a soft smile. Karasu looked to his friend, puzzled.
I'd always dreamed that when you finally became king, I would be able to be your knight in shining armor. A silly dream, I know, but I'm not exactly fond of being a stable boy.
Uriel spoke softly.
Could have fooled me. You always seemed to be having a good time whenever I saw you.
Karasu replied.
That's because you were in my presence.
Uriel looked over with a smile, the wind gently moving through his short white hair. The sounds of soldiers could be heard banging around the castle. They had slowly begun to grow closer. Karasu nervously looked back at the wooden door behind them.
Don't worry. We still have time left to converse, my friend.
Uriel assured, looking at Karasu with an unwavering smile.
You said you shouldn't ignore problems.
Karasu warily replied, now focused on Uriel alone.
I don't have a problem. I'm just sitting here with my friend.
Uriel smiled.
I'm scared to die.
Karasu shivered as his eyes looked to his barren, blood-stained hands.
I think we all are.
Uriel smiled.
But you can't ever let that control you. Death isn't the end. It's just the beginning of a new adventure. Death is just another path we all must take.
You speak as if you've experienced it firsthand. But this isn't some story, Uriel. This is real life.
Karasu cried.
This isn't something that can just be smiled away. You can't charm your way out of this situation.
Uriel slowly scooted his way over to Karasu's side.
Then what would you have me do, Your Majesty?
He asked, gripping one of Karasu's hands with one of his own. Uriel could feel his friend's tears hit the back of his hand before trailing off and falling into the flame-lit abyss. Karasu's gentle shakes had begun to become violent. His crying turned to sobbing, his breathing to wheezing. Uriel's grip on Karasu's hand tightened.
I shall be with you until the end, Your Majesty.
He spoke softly, resting the side of his head against Karasu's.
There's so much I didn't get to do.
Karasu sobbed.
I know.
Uriel frowned, his voice but a whisper.
I don't want to die.
Karasu blubbered. Uriel looked to his left at the stone staircase that ran along the outside of the tower up into a room.
Then let us have more time.
He smiled, turning around and sliding down from the ledge.
There's still one last room left.
Karasu tried to control his hiccups and wheezing as he slowly turned around and got down from the ledge. He wiped away the tears from his eyes and looked at Uriel, who only smiled down at him.
Now you've done it. You've gone and made your eyes all puffy. That's no look for the King of Lenoria. What would your mother think?
Uriel whispered.
Shut up!
Karasu retorted.
That's better.
Uriel smiled.
There's the fire that your eyes were missing.
Uriel then turned and proceeded up the staircase. The trebuchets had ceased fire, though there was a chunk of the staircase missing thanks to the initial attack. There was a giant hole from which you could see into the connected tower. No soldiers had begun to make their way up. Yet. But Uriel knew it wouldn't be much longer.
How are we supposed to get across this gap?
Karasu asked, peering around Uriel to the large section of missing stairs.
No worries.
Uriel smiled before running and leaping over the gap with apparent ease. Karasu stood in shock.
You idiot! You could have fallen!
He chastised.
The gap is large, but jumpable, I assure you.
Uriel smiled, placing his hands in his coat pockets. Karasu gripped the sword at his side with one hand and readied himself before he began charging forward. "You can do this. You can do this," he repeated over and over in his head until he leapt forward, just narrowly clearing the gap.
See? As I told you, no problem. I bet the enemy soldiers won't be able to manage that on their own,
Uriel said confidently before he continued on his way. They reached the top of the tower without any further problems and pushed open the large wooden doors adorned with iron to reveal a room that was part bedroom and part observatory. There was a large window on the right side of the room where a telescope sat, and a large bed to the left of that not more than 10 feet away. The ceiling had a hole in it from a boulder that had been launched from one of the enemy trebuchets, but other than the newly acquired skylight and rock, the room had remained intact.
So this is where we shall die.
Karasu spoke softly before entering the dimly lit room. Uriel followed, shutting the doors behind him.
I used to spend a lot of time up here as a child.
Karasu noted as he stood in the front of the brass telescope.
But my friend, you're still only 16. That's barely an adult.
Uriel replied, smiling.
Which reminds me, you've never told me how old you are.
Karasu replied, spinning around to stare at his friend who stood basking in the moonlight.
Uriel
began before looking up through the hole in the ceiling to the moon.
22.
Oh, I thought for certain older. I've known you for as long as I can remember.
Karasu smiled.
It has been quite a while, hasn't it?
Uriel breathed, still looking up at the sky. Karasu moved across the small circular room to a wall where a sword hung. Despite all the hours he had spent up here as a child, he had almost forgotten about it. As he neared the blade, the idea he could have was humorous. He used to swing it around, pretending to slay dragons.
This was my mother's sword. The sword she used to forge this kingdom before she married my father.
He explained before gently taking the weapon off the wall.
It's light,
he whispered. He didn't recall the weight being so feather-like almost, but age will do that to you. What once was heavy grows easier to manage with age and experience. He gave the sword a few gentle swings to get a feel for the blade. He tightly squeezed and softened his grip around the worn, brown leather wrappings of the handle to get a better sense of its character.
I wonder how many fell victim to this blade.
Karasu pondered and studied the sword for a few moments. The crossguard was, well, just that, a cross. A simple quillin with no real flourish. Along the brass, rectangular crossguard was embossed gold filigree, the same color as he and his mother's hair. It was a weapon that had seen many battles, but was now relegated to a paperweight. The lion head-shaped pommel with rubies embedded for eyes at the bottom of the sword served to remind the user of whom they fought for while wielding this weapon. It looked more like it belonged to a high-ranking soldier than royalty.
Uriel, come here a moment.
Karasu requested as he looked at his reflection in the blade of the sword, his amber eyes almost appearing to be judging himself in this moment.
Sure,
Uriel said before taking his gaze off the moon and walking over.
What is it?
He asked as he reached Karasu.
Kneel.
Karasu ordered without taking his eyes off the blade, or himself depending on your definition.
All right, but why?
Uriel asked, a little confused by the request. Karasu did not respond and merely raised a demanding brow. Seeing his reflection in the blade, maybe some of his mother had managed to wear off on him after all.
Just don't strike me down, please,
he requested as he slowly got down on one knee. Karasu spun on his heels to face Uriel.
In thy name, King Karasu Edmund Flanhartly of Lenoria, I hereby do proclaim you a knight in service of the royal family.
He spoke confidently and with power before he gently placed the sword one time on each of Uriel's shoulders.
You may rise, Sir Knight.
Uriel, in such great shock, slowly stood up to see Karasu holding out his mother's sword for him to take.
But my lord, this is your mother's sword,
Uriel protested.
I don't see your point. We're hours away from death and you're going to worry about such a trivial thing?
Karasu asked, raising an eyebrow.
I shall honor its legacy.
Uriel said as he gently took the sword from Karasu's hand.
I hereby swear to protect you with my life.
Uriel proclaimed quickly, dropping to one knee again and bowing.
Your funeral,
Karasu said dryly before walking away to the telescope.
You asked me if there was any point anymore, Your Majesty.
Uriel said, still down on one knee, now bowing to nothing, his eyes fixed on the exquisite rug beneath him on the ground.
I think I found a better answer than the one I previously provided.
Karasu crossed his arms behind his back and gazed out of the window in front of him alongside the telescope as he listened to what his knight had to say.
I believe. No, I know that life is all about deciding whether or not to fight. This situation, though dire, is no different. My answer to your prior question, it all depends on your answer to one of mine. If you'd indulge me one last time, sire, as your friend, not a knight. If you had wings, would you flee from this place?
yes.
Karasu replied somberly.
Then since you do not, I shall defend you to my last breath.
Uriel said, standing up from the ground.
Don't be stupid, Uriel.
Karasu said, turning around to see his friend in such form that he was silenced.
Wings.
Karasu stuttered beneath his breath. Uriel stood with large blue wings of light, his body covered in armor of gold that glowed with the radiance that might have rivaled that of the heavens.
What are you? Uriel, what's going on?
Karasu breathed, his eyes just as wide as his surprise.
I'm just a knight, defending his king.
Uriel smiled, that same smile he always had since the day they met.
Now, if you'll excuse me, I do believe we have some unwanted guests, right?
Uriel asked as he approached Karasu.
Yes, but
Karasu replied.
are you an angel or devil?
Karasu breathed, not knowing what he should make of the situation.
Well, that all depends on which the king needs.
Uriel nonchalantly replied. He stepped back until he reached the ray of moonlight that poured into the room. Not once did his gaze break from Karasu. And not once did his smile flicker.
Above all, I am your friend.
Uriel then shot through the opening in the ceiling, leaving only 2 white feathers behind in his wake. 2 gently rocking feathers bathed in moonlight.